Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So we've seen a lot of change and growth and modernization when it comes to weddings and wedding traditions, and with that there's been an increase in paperless and digital wedding invitations. And I did a video a couple weeks back all about being more environmentally friendly and having tips to have a green wedding, and it prompted me to do a video all about the pros and cons of having paperless invitations and RSVPs, save the dates, the whole shebang for your wedding. So paperless invitations, while they are still not as common and popular as traditional paper mailed wedding invitations, have been increasingly more popular in recent years, and that is largely due to the fact of the environmental and economical impact that digital and paperless wedding invitations have. So I wanted to kind of go through the pros and cons of opting for paperless invitations, and then some resources and how you can kind of accomplish this for your wedding. So let's start with the pros for paperless invitations. So for one thing, you're obviously saving a ton on paper. You're saving a ton of paper. You're not having to print a bunch of wedding invitations, envelopes, RSVP cards, meal cards, anything extra, save the dates, thank you cards, all those things that are needing paper that need to be printed, you don't need when you go digital. And so that's obviously a large impact on the environment, especially when you take in consideration how many invitations you are going to be printing and how many individual pieces of paper you will be utilizing for your wedding if you have kind of the average 100-150 guests at your wedding. And if you think about how many weddings happen a year, that's a ton of paper just for wedding invitations. Another obvious pro is the overall cost factor. So not only are you saving a ton of money on postage, as you won't need to have stamps for your paperless invitations, you're just sending them with the click of a button, which is going to save you, depending on the amount of guests that you're inviting, easily $50 to $100, maybe even more than that, right there just in postage. And then of course there's the overall cost of the invites themselves, which depending again on the number of guests you're inviting, as well as how involved your wedding invitations are, if it's a single page, if it's a multiple page paper suite, if you have RSVP cards, if you have anything additional that guests are receiving in the mail, it's going to obviously cost more money, and then again you're going to be paying more in postage as well for the greater number of pieces you have in your suite. The heavier it's going to be, thus the more it's going to cost to mail it. So the overall cost factor is astronomically different from paper invitations to paperless invitations. In fact, you could potentially go all digital and not spend a single dime, which could save you anywhere from $500 to close to $2,000 just in wedding invitations. Another pro is you don't have to deal with any print delays or mail delays or things getting lost in the mail. This is especially important if you are having a wedding on a shorter timeline and you're needing to send out invitations rather quickly or get RSVPs back rather quickly. You don't have to wait for the invitation to get to your guests and then follow up with them and then wait for that RSVP card to come back to you. You can just know that it's going to hit their inbox right away, instantaneously when you click that mouse, and you can essentially follow up with them right away and make sure that you get a response yes or no if they're coming to your wedding. Speaking of RSVPs, this is another great pro of digital invitations, is you can have a link to RSVP and do all of your RSVPs digitally as well. And not only is this easier for your guests, as they won't have to keep track of any RSVP cards, remember to send that back to you and drop it in the mailbox, but they also don't, it just cuts out extra steps. All they have to do is they can click right away as soon as they receive that email and RSVP right online, and it'll take them 5 seconds. Then this is also easier for you, as all of your RSVPs will be tracked digitally and easily, efficiently, and you won't have to go through all of the individual cards that are coming into the mail and make sure that you have everything that you need. So those are some pretty good pros when it comes to paperless invitations. Let's talk about some of the cons now. So I mentioned that it's easy for guests to RSVP. All they have to do is click a link right from their mailbox. However, a con of this is if your guest is somebody that procrastinates or is unsure if they're going to be able to attend your wedding right away, there's no paper trail. There's nothing to put on the fridge to remind them. There's nothing to keep tangibly in their hands to remind them to RSVP or to remember the wedding in general. It'll be opened in an email once and then it kind of disappears. So that's probably the largest con when it comes to digital invitations, is there isn't a good record of it unless your guest is someone that is good at keeping an organized email inbox or printing that off or doing something that's going to remind them about the wedding if they need that reminder, if they aren't RSVPing or putting it in their calendar right away. On the same note, there's the potential that an emailed invite can get sent to somebody's junk mail or spam folder and it may never get to them. However, whether it's paperless or not, you likely need to follow up with guests as you get closer to your RSVP date anyways. So if you are realizing that somebody hasn't responded, that could happen, whether it's in their spam folder or they got it mailed directly to their home and it's on their fridge and they just haven't RSVP'd. So while that is a con, it's also something that doesn't technically bear any heavier weight as a con than paper invites. On the similar token, paperless invites, you don't get the excitement of the tangible arrival of the invitation. So you don't have that kind of moment of opening the mailbox and seeing that there's a wedding invite in there and being able to put that up on the fridge and kind of look at it and have that memorable piece of the wedding that you're going to attend. And this also goes for you as the couple. You won't have the kind of the keepsake of paper invites or having those for any flat lays, detail photos, anything like that you want to do at your wedding. A way around this is you could still have a small handful of paper invites printed and send those out to maybe your parents, your close family members that are going to want those tangible invitations, and then keep one suite for yourself so that you have that for your photos or for your keepsakes or whatever you want to do if that's something that's important to you. You also have less of the experience, I guess you could say, when you don't have that mailed invite being sent out to your guests, as wedding invitations are essentially the first little hint that your guests get towards what your wedding is going to be like, towards what they can expect for your wedding and the overall kind of theme and style, and all of that is a lot easier to perceive and customize, and you kind of pick out the cardstock and the colors and all of that on actual physical paper invitations. So if that's something that's important to you, you're going to lose that when you have digital invitations. And finally, there is always the possibility of elderly guests or guests that are non-tech savvy. Maybe they don't even have an email, which I know these days is pretty uncommon for that to be the case, but consider your guest list when you are thinking about doing digital invitations, and if there's anybody that may not receive a digital invitation or know how to operate a digital invitation or digital RSVP, and if you have quite a few, then maybe this isn't the best option for you. So if you're watching this video and you're sold on doing paperless invitations, there are quite a bit of resources these days now for digital invitations. Some of the top ones are Evite. This is probably one of the largest digital invitation websites, and you can just go to evite.com. There are tons and tons of templates. There are lots that are free, and then there are some that are premium that include an envelope and that are just a little bit nicer than some of the other free options. And basically there's just a template that you can plug your photo in. If you want to have a photo, you put in all of your information that needs to go on it, and it'll get sent out to whatever email list you set. Greenvelope is another online resource for digital wedding invitations, and again, they have a large selection of templates. They are a little bit more customizable than the ones that you will find on Evite, as you can customize more of your colors to match your theme and overall color palette for your wedding if that's important to you. And they also have great easy RSVP tracking as well. And third, we have Paperless Post, which has a lot of really great designs, and they partner with designers like Kate Spade and Oscar de la Renta, so they have a lot of really great options for your designs for wedding invitations there. So there are some cons to going paperless when it comes to your wedding invitations, but there are also a ton of pros as well. If you've ever received a digital wedding invitation, or if you yourself have gone paperless for wedding invites of any kind, I would love to hear what your experience was like. Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.